Hello indie game fans, I just did a big preview video for the best upcoming indie games for the rest of 2024, but we'll be zooming into July in this video, with there being quite the number of fantastic looking games, beginning with Fallen Leaf, a long in development pixel art action platformer that has perhaps more than a little in common with Mega Man, down to the jump animation of the character, but also Mario in the overworld map and the path that you can choose to take. However, I think that it nails exactly what they are going for with the modern 8-bit look, and as a pixel art fan, of course I'm down for this. And with over 70 stages spread across 4+ world maps and even a variety of playable characters, looks to be something special, not to mention the towns and NPCs to visit as well, so maybe it might be more Shovel Knight as well. Another throwback title is Exophobia, a first-person shooter with Metroidvania elements in which you are wielding an alien weapon which you can upgrade, increasing your combat ability and also allowing you to access new areas. It takes place on board a crashed human spaceship which has become overrun with aliens, so you need to fight your way through to escape, while also seeking out other human survivors and learning about their backstory. The intentionally limited colour palette chosen is stylish and has that crunchy pixel art look as well, looking to be one of the better releases of the month. I last talked about Lost Castle 2 during the most recent Steam Next Festival, where this roguelite beat-em-up is the sequel to a game from 2016 and has quickly shot up the charts in terms of being one of the most anticipated games on Steam. If you are not familiar, this controls and plays like a beat-em-up, think Streets of Rage or Golden Axe, but in which there are roguelite-style randomized upgrades, procedural generation of level layouts and enemies encountered, permadeath so the levels reset when you die, but also has meta progression elements as you gain resources to purchase permanent upgrades. The sequel improves the graphics and it looks awesome, and with co-op support as well, does look like fun with friends. So assuming it is not broken or buggy at launch, should easily be one of the biggest releases next month.
The Cataclismo left us broken.
There really are so many great indie games coming out, so much so that I had to intentionally limit the number of July releases in my previous video, with one game that wasn't on there being Cataclismo. This is a survival base builder RTS telling a tale in a magical post-apocalypse in which a band of adventurers venture into the mist to reclaim territory for humanity, fighting back the horrors of the dark that do swarm you in large numbers. This reminds me of the zombie survival RTS They Are Billions, with the twist being that you're allowed to build defenses and walls block by block, in which physics plays a part in how effective your troops are at dealing with the enemy. It also comes to us from the developer of Moonlighter, so the pedigree is there, and got picked up by publisher Hooded Horse, who is absolutely crushing it with strategy games this year. On the opposite end of things is Anger Foot, a cartoony first-person shooter that allows you to kick enemies, and it looks like all action all the time. You are battling your way across the city, taking out gangsters by kicking and shooting your way through, but as to the reason why, I'm not sure exactly, and honestly don't really care since the action just looks fantastic. Physics of course will play a central role, and you can even do things like a flying jump kick while wielding an Uzi in one hand, with the sick beats being of note as well. Another long in development title also makes it to launch in CONSCRIPT, a World War I survival horror title in which you play as a French soldier in the trenches searching for his missing brother. Of course, the visual style of the game is what makes it stand out, and while the PS1 era look has become more common these days, it still stands out visually, which allows this to get attention. While it looks more actiony, the developer does talk about scavenging for limited supplies and solving puzzles, so this might be more Resident Evil than you might think. An absolutely beautiful title that looks to be unique is Dungeons of Hinterberg, an action RPG set in a beautiful alpine village, but in which there are dungeons to explore, enemies to fight and puzzles to solve, on top of the more cozy looking elements like hanging out in town and getting to know the locals. The art style and colour palette chosen is gorgeous, with the juxtaposition of combat and cozy vibes being an interesting choice, and I'm not sure how this will be received. Still, it looks great and should be one of the more interesting releases of the year. I know that many of you, like me, are excited for this game, and it is somewhat of a miracle that Mifumado is back from the dead, being kickstarted in 2022, and then the developer went radio silent. However, somehow they made it work and recently showed off a new trailer and even has a release date, being a pixel art 2D action platformer set in a post-apocalypse inspired by Japan. From the footage and the UI, there appears to be some sort of poise meter that decreases when you get hit, but it is not a stamina meter, so this is not a Souls-like, but still, combat looks to be intentional and you cannot just spam attacks. Needless to say, the pixel art is one of the best that I have seen, so I hope this is good, although with the circumstances surrounding its development, perhaps it is not wise to have high expectations. One of the more interesting releases that I came to know about relatively recently is Yao Ling Mythical Journey, an auto-battler RPG with creature collection elements that sure looks awesome. This looks to be kind of like Pokemon in nature, as you explore the world and travel from town to town in order to battle the different schools of Yaoling keepers, but does have more of a home base that you can build out and expand as well. You are capturing these creatures, placing them in formation and hitting the go button to watch them duke it out, rather than the more classic turn-based combat, and I appreciate the novelty, with there being live sim elements like fishing as well, and looks to be a very unique release. I won't bang on too much about this game since I've mentioned Bow Path of the Teal Lotus many times, a hand-drawn Metroidvania inspired by Japanese mythology that looks great, with its game inspirations being Hollow Knight and Ori, and as a Metroidvania fan, this should be one of the highlights of the year. Watch this video for more upcoming games in 2024.